Yo, what's up, everybody? Welcome back. You've just entered Correlation Nation, and today we're going to be going over the Adesanya and Pyfer fight. But first, before we get into this card, please do me a huge favor and leave a like or get in the comment section, even. Give me some thoughts, opinions. Let me know what's good, what's not good, what you're feeling, what you're not, what I should do, whatever. You know what I mean? Any kind of engagement is going to help the channel grow. Please do yourself a favor and subscribe to the channel because you're not going to regret it, okay? Now, we know that one of the most important things about doing this is the actual results themselves. So, we'll start with a quick recap of last week, how we done. So, I can honestly say that we went 10 of 13, and the three fights that we missed were the first one was Shimrock. I thought that he would be the cleaner striker, and I kind of still feel that he probably was. But the issue was really just way too hesitant, way too willing to go second. Clearly lost that fight. But I wasn't overly confident in that fight. I thought it was a close fight. And props to Swati, right? And then let's move on. The other fight that we missed was. I know we missed the main event. I fell on the side of Lerryan Murphy. But again, in all honesty, when I walked away from that fight, because I didn't even see the end of the fight, but when I walked away from it, I thought he was up. I would have to go back and watch the fight. He lost is what it is. But I will say that because he was such a big underdog, he was like a plus 200. You were able to bet the spread and get a really, really nice line on that. And it was just a good look. I thought that he would probably win the fight. So if I could bet on the spread at, near even odds, why wouldn't I do that, right? So, anyways, we fell in the green there, but we did get the fight wrong. And then the other fight that we got wrong was a war. It was Axel Sola and Mason Jones. I thought Axel Sola. I was probably way too confident in Axel Sola because I knew how good Mason Jones, and I also knew how big of a dog he actually was. But it happens. The reality of the fight is Mason Jones outpaced, outworked, and outdogged Axel Sola. Sola's still a good fighter. He looked good, but he got beat. So yeah, that's how we done last week. Now let's jump into next week. Okay, like I said, we got Adesanya and Pyfer. As of now, we have 13 fights. Let's see if there's been any changes. Tons of shuffling, just tons of shuffling. But it does seem that the ones that have been on this card for most of this week seem to be sticking so far. And then we'll see if there's any issues when we get to weigh-ins. But the first fight of the night, we have Alexa Dinora going against Bruna Brazil. Let's pull them up real quick, kind of see, we got a big favorite on Dinora, 5'4" to 5'6". 67 to 65 reach is pretty similar. Bruna's going to be slightly bigger. Dinora's got slightly longer reach, obviously. And these two ladies have fought before. That's another interesting aspect to this, or just, another fun fact about this fight. Let's pull up Alexa real quick. All right. Alexa Dinora. She is a bully, fairly light-footed pressure striker. She shows some bounce with a bit of footwork, has a tendency to walk down opponents, has solid kicks from range, decent 1-2, but boxing tends to be pretty loose, so she will throw a lot. It's probably like when in combination, she's pretty wide. And then decent body lock trips, a bit of top pressure with moderate ground and pound. Questions around her grappling awareness. And, funny enough, she was submitted by Bruna Brazil. I do know that for a fact. Now, let's pull her up. We're just real quick. We'll look at her. And we'll see in recent past, she has 8 submissions, never knocked anybody out. Lost once, that was to Bruna. And then, 5 decisions. Now let's pull up Bruna. Sorry, I got my nose itching like crazy. All right. Bruna. Been knocked out 3 times. Lost 3 decisions. And let's see who she was knocked out to. Denise Gomes. And a knee injury. And then Carnelossi. You know, in Carnelossi, if nothing else, she can hit hard. And then a knee injury. And then being knocked out by Gomes is not. So I don't see this fight being a knockout. And then let's look at the submission. She's never been submitted herself. There's a world, I guess, Dinora could get a submission. But let's see. Actually, let's go back to her real quick. I just want to see her submissions. So she does have 8. Rear naked to Molly McCann. Rear naked to... Yeah, I mean... I don't know. I guess I'm not like overly concerned about it. I think that Bruna Brazil can grapple and defend well enough that she should be okay here. So this is a fight. It is going to be kind of hard to call. You know, and the issue with this fight truly is that Dinora is just way too big of a favorite, way too juiced in my opinion. I don't think that's warranted. So I would see the actual value is on Brazil because of that. But ultimately, I would still side with Alexa Dinora. I think because of her pressure and pace, you know, she probably will be able to do a little bit more. But the reality is Bruna probably is just the slightly more technical striker. Yeah, I don't know. I'm gonna side with Alexa, but I think the most likely outcome of this fight is it is probably a fight that will probably go over and will go to decision. And we'll move on. You know, I really probably should go back and watch some more tape on this, but that's just kind of where I feel and how I fall and how I feel and where I fall right now. This is what it is, and let's run it. Let's go to the next fight. Next fight, we have Ricky Simone going against Adrian Yanez. Pull these guys up real quick. Age is similar. Height similar. Reach is very similar. So not really going to be much of an advantage in any of these areas. Let's pull up Ricky. All right. Here he is right here. Light-footed pressure striker, solid footwork, has a good boxing, good left jab, nice right cross, decent counter left hook. Guard looks solid, but does tend to drop his hands at times, especially his left hand. Decent front kick, high kick at range, solid right outside low kick, good wrestling and scrambling. And I think that with Ricky, what you get is a very well-rounded guy that can wrestle fairly well, like pretty well. I wouldn't call him like an extremely dominant wrestler, but he can wrestle pretty well. And he can scramble and transition pretty well. He strikes pretty well. You know, like his striking, I think that it's at a level that he can stand with kind of the best of them, but he can also be. He's not with the best of them, like he's outside of that, but he can definitely strike with him. And then when we look over at the other side of this fight, let's go to Adrian. All right, this guy's fairly light-footed striker, shows solid bounce with some footwork, has a tendency to stay in the pocket looking to trade, uses measured pressure, has a decent guard, but keeps his head on the center line when he's entering the pocket. He has a pretty solid left jab and a right cross. Can counter well in the pocket, but tends to throw wide when putting combinations together. He has plus power, decent occasional backside low kick, and he will also throw that kick to the front of the leg. Now, he's not a bad fighter, and I think his striking's okay, but he's primarily a boxer, let's be honest. He only throws an occasional kick. He's not really known for his grappling. I think, honestly, his striking and his power is what has got him to the UFC. But the reality is his striking is a little overrated in my opinion. And I'm not saying that to be disrespectful. I'm just calling it for what I watch on tape. I think that, the sentiment you get is that his boxing is on a level that it's not. And so that's not necessarily his fault, but like I think the commentators do this a lot of times. And I just don't let's pull these guys back up over here real quick. Ricky Simone is a minus 170. I think that's a pretty fair placement, and I agree with the line, and I agree with the favorite. That's exactly how I feel. Honestly, I don't know how Ricky wins his fight because I do think he can win it a lot of different ways. He can win a decision, knockout, submission. And so I guess I can try to think about that more clearly. But, when we look up at Adrian, let's pull him up, see how he's lost. 2 knockouts, 4 decision losses. I mean, I could see it being even a decision, potentially, for Ricky. I mean, he could knock him out too. That's the thing. Is like it's extremely hard to try to determine if he's going to knock him out. But I will say this: the safest way to look at this, I think, is the Ricky money line. I think he wins his fight, and I also think that. Oh well, I'm thinking that while Ricky can knock out Adrian, like that's a possibility. I'm not so sure I would bet on that, and the reason is because I I, I still think Adrian Yanez is his most dangerous in that area. So Ricky would be wise to just kind of pick and poke a little bit, look for his opportunity to get the fight to the floor, and just do kind of like a control-based ground and pound. I guess he could find a finish down there too. He could find a submission down there, but the fact that he's never been submitted gives me a little. I don't know. Like it makes me feel good about it that he's never been submitted. I just don't know that he's fought anyone like this. So anywho, I'm gonna favor Ricky Simone. Let's go. Moneyline that shit. Let's run it, okay? Now, Navajo Sterling and Bruno Lopez. Not sure which one it is. Let's pull these guys up. We have Navajo Sterling and Bruno Lopez, and the size difference is 2 inches in the height to Sterling, and then I guess it's relatively significant at 4.5 inches in the reach. And let's pull up Navajo. All right. This guy is a calculated kickboxer, flat-footed, stands at kicking range using front kicks and leg kicks, waiting for his opponent to open up. Has special blend of power and speed for the weight class. Ground game is relatively unknown. And so I think I took these notes for like contender series and just to be honest and upfront, I haven't really updated them, so it is something that I need to pay attention to this week because that needs corrected. But it gives you an idea of like the type of fighter he is. Like flat-footed, pretty patient, and going to look for openings. Now the issue with this is it's a slower fight. You know what I mean? You're kind of looking for moments, and not always really winning minutes. And then you got but he is technical. Like I think his kickboxing is pretty technical. And then the other part of it is you have a guy that's relatively untested in the grappling. But let's pull up his opponent real quick. Bruno. All right. Light-footed pressure striker, solid boxing. He has a high guard, straight left, low kick at range. Yeah, that's a little, I'm not sure. That's really, really odd. So, but anyways, plus minus is he tends to brawl when he enters the pocket. So he's going to come in and he's going to look to brawl, throw heavies, and look to get, he is a very aggressive type of fighter, come forward fighter. Has good power, nasty step in knee, has some wrestling ability, solid ground and pound he uses to advance, and he will look for an arm triangle from the mount position. And you'll see him try to look for this position quite a bit. I guess that's it's a real possibility in this fight. But let's go back and look at these guys on paper again. Navajo Sterling, undefeated. 4 TKOs, 4 decisions, never been submitted. Some of these guys are, I guess, relatively decent. Ivan Arslan's okay. A little bit more of a brawler, but a powerful dude. He is pretty dangerous. Rodolfo Bellato, kind of the same. Honestly. A little bit more of a brawler. Can get knocked down, but he's kind of a dog. He'll bite down on his mouthpiece, and if he can get up, which is funny, but yeah, he's okay. And then Tuco Tokos, more of a wrestler, grappler. And I feel like the fact that he beat a wrestler, beat 2 brawlers, and Rodolfo does have some ground game, I guess. I don't know. He just looks like a smart, technical fighter. And I'm not saying he's fought a guy like Bruno, but he's going to have the size advantage here. He's going to be more technical. I could definitely see this fight ending early. Let's pull up Bruno. Okay. Been knocked out 2 times, never submitted, and never lost a decision either. So that's a little bit interesting. 3-0 in LFA, 1-1 in the UFC, 1-1 on Contender, and he lost to his kickboxer and Dustin Jacoby by left hook, and Brunson Ribeiro by strikes. Now, so as I mentioned earlier, this guy's 4-0 to the TKO and 4-0 to the decision. And you'll see that at the UFC level, he's been to the decision 3 times. Well, he had the 1 TKO on Contender Series. So I think I kind of favor this fight going under. And I'll side with the Navajo Sterling side. I do think that he's the more technical striker, and even if Bruno is going to be more willing to come forward, I just think that Navajo should be the more effective striker. And he looks like a really good athlete. Now Bruno is extremely aggressive, and I think with that always brings a level of uncertainty, and that's why I kind of favor the under more so. But Bruno's shown that he's kind of like he can get clipped, and I think Navajo has the technical ability and the speed and the power to catch him coming in. You know what I mean? So I'm going to favor Navajo in this one, and I'll favor the under, and let's go. All right, next fight up. We have Casey O'Neill going against Gabriella Fernandez. There's a 4 age year gap between these, so Fernandez is the elder. Height's the same, and reach. Wow, there's a 3-inch reach on O'Neal's side. But let's be real, O'Neal's not like some crazy striker either. So let's be honest about that. Let's pull up Casey on paper. Over here, see our notes. Casey. All right, slightly light-footed striker. Shows a bit of bounce with some footwork. Fights with some measured pressure. Relatively decent backside low kick. Decent-ish left jab. But she has a tendency to just like walk right into offense and makes her very hittable. Quite tenacious. A bit of a dog. Has some takedown ability, but will sell out to get to it. And that makes her a bit of a liability. So she's definitely going to come forward. You know, she's going to get hit, and it's not going to look good. But she'll keep coming forward, generally, you know what I mean? I do like that about her, but her skill set, all in all, I don't really love. I don't think her striking is really all up to par. Now, I do think if she can get to you, the issue with her game is for her to be her best or you know, where she, you know, like to put the fight where she wants it. The reality is just simply that she has to freaking get punched to do so. And I don't like that. I do not like that. But anyways, let's pull up her opponent real quick. Because that girl's a dog. You know, like if nothing else, she, like I said, she will bite down on her mouthpiece and she'll come forward. So, Gabriella, whatever. All right, here we are. Excuse me. She is a light-footed pressure striker, has pretty nice footwork, solid range management, lateral movement, and she cuts off the cage. Powerful left side and high kick at range. Boxing is okay, long straight punches, but has a bit of a lazy guard. And her hand speed seems a bit slow. Power looks good. Plus minus is she's a willing grappler, and she does have, while she does have submission upside, it's not elite. And then fairly active guard. Now let's go back real quick and just pull them up on paper. We'll kind of look at what they've done recently. Try to get a better feel for, you know, 10-2. Lost by submission and decision only. Won against Luana Santos. Lost to Ariana Lipsky and Jennifer Maya at the UFC level. Did beat Roxanne Modafferi. I mean, that's a decent win. Split decision. Kind of grapple. She's like Roxanne 2.0. I'm just kidding. Maybe a little. But, well, I honestly think that, you know, Gabby should be a pretty big favorite just on the feet alone. And the fight starts there. And like I said, I don't really like the fact that Casey has to eat punches in order to get to takedowns. I'm not saying she can't get that. But also, it seems that Gabby should be... I could be totally wrong. If she just gets taken down and mauled, like, I'll be like, yeah, definitely wrong about this. You know, the way I'm viewing the fight. But I do think that she should be able to maintain range at least somewhat. She has pretty good footwork, and be the more effective striker on the feet. And honestly, like I said, Casey kind of just, she eats punches, bro, and it doesn't look good. So I don't think it'll be hard for her to look like she's winning while they're standing on the feet. And so for that reason, I'm going to favor Gabby. Now let's go back over here. And, well, that's not the right fight at all. What the heck? Plus 105, so she is the underdog. And, yeah, I like it. Let's rock with it. Let's roll. You know, Marcin Tybura going against Tyrell Fortune. And let me tell you what, I might be a fortune teller, guys. For real, let's run this mug. It's a near pick'em, you know, minus 105 to a minus 120. I don't know why Terrell Fortune's the favorite. Maybe I'm crazy, but let's hop into this. Let's pull up Marcin real quick. Marcin, Tybura. Alright. Here he is. Here's our boy. And he is a fairly light-footed striker, believe it or not. Shows a bit of bounce with decent movement, footwork. He does lack range management, and his striking is fairly fundamental. High guard, decent left jab to overhand right. Seems a bit slow and will extend himself at times. Decent left high and side kick. Has shown some takedown ability. Solid top pressure. Relentless ground and pound. And he's an opportunistic grappler. Now let's go to his counterpart in Fortune. Alright, this guy. He is a fairly light-footed nothing striker, though. I just don't have nothing there. I don't know why I didn't have anything. Shows decent bounce with some footwork, but it's not really that technical. Seems pretty measured, and seems he has low output. I haven't watched too much film on him. I haven't really watched a guy in the past. He's coming over from PFL and some other promotions. And we'll get into that in a second, but he really likes to lead with a wide overhand. Like, he just goes with overhand. And it seems he has good power. Will come forward in spurts. Has nice knees from the Muay Thai clinch. Probably his best weapon. Just, shout out Fortune. I mean, if he would implement the Muay Thai game a lot more and just grab that Muay Thai and, yeah. I'm telling you, in my opinion, that's where he looks the most dangerous. Decent takedown ability with ground and pound. Takedown defense and defensive grappling seem to be a real issue. Loses position and can be outworked. Hold on. Let's go over here and pull him up on paper. Marcin. Been knocked out 6 times. Only submitted once. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, Marcin could definitely be knocked out. That's a real possibility in this fight. But I'm not going to sit here and say he's like super uber fucking chinny. I think he's a heavyweight, and a lot of these guys get knocked out. And if you look at some of the guys he's getting knocked out by and even standing 2-3 rounds with, it doesn't seem he's really that chinny. He's just been knocked out. Now, this guy has a bunch of, I'm pretty sure it's mostly knockouts. 11 knockouts. He's been knocked out once, and he was flatlined, if I remember right. Submitted once and one submission. He has been to decision, I guess, a handful of times. That's what I'm interested in. Let's get to this. Third round, first round, second round. Got knocked out in the first round in the PFL. And these other promotions, I don't know about that. Went to decision in the PFL. And then Bellator. Round one. I just don't know. I think he, like I said, he probably has the power. He probably could clip Marcin. I don't think Marcin's that chinny. And, 6'2" at the heavyweight division. He looks like a pretty decent athlete. But honestly, his skill set's not super refined, in my opinion. I didn't think so. I just think that honestly he's been fighting much lower level of competition than Marcin. So yeah, he's the better athlete in this position, no doubt. But all in all, when you put everything together in the MMA world, I do think Marcin's a slightly, well, actually, probably quite a bit more skilled MMA fighter. 10-3 by decision, 8-1 by sub, and like I said, yeah, maybe a little chinny. So the knockout's definitely possible. I'm gonna take Marcin, but it's a volatile heavyweight fight. Probably something you don't really want to put too much into. Okay, guys, let's be honest. Be careful with that. And let's move on. The next fight we have Chase Hooper going against Lance Gibson. Pull him up. 6'1" to 5'9". That's pretty significant. 74 to only 72-inch. So that's a 2-inch reach advantage for the Cooper. But, the Cooper's the grappler, not really the striker. And Lance is going to be definitely more of the striker probably in this fight if I had to guess. Now let's pull up Chase. Excuse me. All right. Chase Hooper. This guy is a fairly light-footed pressure striker. Fights behind a solid backside front kick at range. Decent jab. Extends himself. Hand speed is a bit slow. Shown to be a willing brawler. Note like that because he's also got a questionable chin. He's long. He does carry power. Aggressive grappler will look to get the fight to the mat. Like he's going to. Good transitional grappler with submission upside. Okay. Now let's go to Lance. All right. Lance. Light-footed striker, shows good bounce with solid-ish footwork, fights with measured pressure, and has solid range management. Likes to throw the left leg from the backside, and he will throw low, side, and high. Will utilize front kicks with both legs. Boxing is solid, but tends to go second. Seems to have some takedown ability, well-timed entries, and he explodes through. But he has questionable control on the ground. Like some, but it's not maybe great, right? And he looks pretty good. He looks like a good athlete and everything like that. Now let's go over here and pull these fellas up over here on Tapology. All right. Over here we have him. And Chase, let's see his record. He's 4-2 to the KO, 8-0 to the sub, and 4-2 to the decision. Let's see who he was knocked out by. Alexander Hernandez and Steve Garcia. Oh, yep, Steve Garcia. Hey man, happens, brother. And he is pretty hittable. All right, let's go over here. Let's pull up his opponent. Four and 1 to the KO, 3-0 to the submission, and 2-1 to decision. Oh, this is important. So he went to decision with King Green. This is his first and only fight in the UFC. And yeah, he looks pretty good. Like I said, looks like a pretty good athlete. But, like I said, maybe a little too willing to go second at times, especially with his hands. But anyways, let's get into this. He has a KO right here. So hold on. RJ Holt. Or Hoyt. he has a rear naked choke, a submission on this guy. Let me say this. I don't think the likelihood of this guy getting a submission on Chase Hooper is nowhere near possible. You know what I mean? I mean, it's possible, but I'm not going to say it's impossible, but it's just not very likely, right? So let's just get that out of the way right here and right now. Now, the KOs, this is to a 19-42 fighter. Like, how's this not flagged? 19-42 fighter. Was knocked out by strikes in Bellator to a 7-2 Vladimir. Got a triangle choke on a 15-12 fighter. Went to decision with a 4-2 guy. Ground and pound with a 9-4 guy in Bellator. Decision on a 6-2 guy. I don't know. You know, it's good that he hasn't been submitted, but I don't think he's fought anyone like Chase, and I don't see him like grappling in tournaments or anything like that either. So I think Chase being able to grapple him up is pretty possible. You know, and then the fact that this guy's not really knocking anyone out that looks like they're very good. Yeah, I mean, that makes me think that, I don't know, I guess it's possible. He can knock out Chase. It is possible. So most likely is probably the under in this fight, or you know the fight doesn't go. That's probably the most likely outcome of this fight if I had to really guess. But I'm gonna side with Chase Hooper. I think that Chase Hooper could probably get his back at some point. But I guess it'll be interesting to see because if nothing else, when we go back over here to the notes, you know, one of the important things is going to be the footwork of Lance and whether he can maintain distance, because Chase is definitely the longer striker, right? We're the longer fighter in this fight. But sorry. Solid-ish footwork. Shows good bounce with solid-ish footwork. You know, he fights with measured pressure and has solid range management. But he's got a kicking game. He's primarily a kicker. Yeah, no. I'm gonna take Chase. I think, you know, Chase grab a leg, like that's a thing. Like he may not have like great traditional wrestling or whatever, but you know, he's kind of a type of guy that'll sell out to get a takedown too. I'm just gonna favor him. I think at some point he's able to get this fight to the mat, and I'm not sure if Lance has rolled with a guy like the Dream. Okay, so we're gonna roll with him, and we'll move on. Sorry, I know that one was pretty long-winded, but all right. We got Bahamondes going against Tofiq Musayev. Sorry. Pull him up right here. 28 to 36. Wow, that's a pretty good age gap. 6'3 to 59. 5'9, 59. Pretty big height difference. And then 75, that's like a 6-inch reach advantage too almost. This is pretty wild. Yeah, wow. Let's pull up Bahamondes. Bahamondes. All right. Ignacio. Here we are. Fluid switch stance striker. Shows solid bounce with good footwork and constant switches. Fights with measured pressure and decent range management. Pretty dynamic kicker at range. Front, low, side, high, and he's got a nasty spinning heel kick. Decent 1-2, but tends to feint and wait a lot, so he leaves a lot of empty space. Questionable takedown ability, but is a pretty high-level, unique clinch striker. So when he goes in for it, like he'll get into the clinch and maybe utilize that. Aggressive defensive grappler. will look to attack submissions, and he is dangerous but can lose minutes from that position. Yeah, because if you're laying in your guard or whatever and hunting submissions, you could definitely be losing. But it does make you dangerous, especially if you can pull those submissions off. And he has shown the ability to do so at least a few times. So I'll give him that. I think he's dangerous enough in those positions. Now, let's pull up his opponent. Tofiq. All right. This guy is a light-footed switch stance striker, shows good bounce with solid footwork. Seems pretty measured, questionable volume, will throw an occasional body kick or a leg kick. Pump a jab and throw an overhand, maybe has power but seems to wait for moments. Shows resistance in the takedown defense. He does have good balance. In grappling, but gets caught in transition. And so this is I guess, probably got to be the easiest fight to pick just based stylistically. Like, I mean, there's always a world Tofiq catches him with a big power shot or something like that. But outside of that, there's just no real path for him to win this fight, in my opinion. And so for that reason, it's easy for me to say I believe that Bahamondes wins this fight. Probably a pretty sizable favorite already, if I had to guess. But nonetheless, let's pull these guys up and see. He's a minus 300 favorite right now. 11-0 to the KO, so I guess that's not probably super likely. 2-2 to the submission, and 4-4 to decision. I'm trying to see when the last time he was finished. It's been a while. Rear naked in 2017, was that it? Let me look at this again. Just make sure. Yeah, that's what it looks like. And then armbarred in 2016. Yeah, that's crazy. Now, where are these decision losses? Okay. Combate's pretty solid, man. I'm telling you, some of those guys are freaking good. Yeah, Bahamondes is pretty good, man. Like he has a flaw, like I said. Maybe leaves empty space at time or whatever, and that's why he can lose these decisions. But he's super duper dangerous in most places. And the thing is, let's pull up this other dude on paper because I want to see. I think he's primarily a striker too. That's the whole thing. He's 22-6. 18-1 to the knockout, and then 2-4 to the submission. Yeah, I don't know. I guess it's possible, but I think that this is fucking Bahamondes' fight to lose. Come on, guys, let's roll. He probably has this guy. How many times he been knocked out? Only one time he's been knocked out. Yeah, I don't know. I don't think it really matters, honestly. I don't think it really matters. I need a charger. But he might be able to get a finish at some point. Anyways. Sorry, I need a charger. We're dying. I done messed around too long. Alright. Sorry. Let's move on. So we got Bahamondes in that fight. the next fight we have Terrance McKinney going against Kyle Nelson. This to me is a pretty fun fight because I'm gonna say right off the rip that Kyle Nelson, in my opinion, especially after doing film study and whatnot on him, I think he's a pretty underrated fighter, honestly. And maybe people have recognized him more as of late because he has done pretty well recently. But, I'm not even talking about like recency bias. I'm talking about literally just watching his film, breaking down his skill set. We'll get to that in just a second. Um, First, let's look at this. It's a near pick'em. Nelson's the underdog, plus 115. Size is close enough, you know what I mean? 2.5-inch reach advantage to McKinney. Let's pull up McKinney. All right, Terrance McKinney. Light-footed pressure striker. He is aggressive. Solid 1-2. He has fast hands. He does tend to reach when defending punches. Good wrestler. He scrambles really well. He's the plus minus on this guy is he's a fast starter and he tends to fade after about the 6 or 7 minute mark. And it's it's all or nothing for this guy. You know what I mean? So basically, this fight goes under. Almost has to be like 100% of the time, right? Whether he wins or loses or whatever, he goes all out to either. He is literally the definition of kill or be killed. I mean, this is Terrance kill or be killed McKinney, bro. Like, it's simple as that, brother. Like, this guy, but he is a talented guy, but he can lose because if he's going against a guy that can take the beating and defend everything, then they come back later and they beat him, right? Because he spent himself. Sorry, my dog's back off. Come on, Bubba. Hey. It's okay. Poor guy. Wait, Bubba. Here. Okay, are you better now, Bubba? I'm so sorry. Please forgive me. But yeah, like I was saying, this guy will spin himself, so it's kill or be killed. Now let's pull up his opponent. All right, we do have. What the heck? All right, Kyle Nelson, the monster. 6-3 to the KO, 4-1 to the submission, and 7-2 to the decision. Pull them up over here in the notes. All right, Nelson. Slightly light-footed striker, shows decent bounce with solid footwork. And I'll just say this really quickly, like his footwork is like he's not very agile necessarily, but he shows just enough bounce really and implements just enough footwork. I noticed that his footwork's pretty good. He usually circles the right way, things like that. So it's pretty solid, pretty measured and solid range management, pretty effective kicking attack. Backside, he'll throw deep and low, and then the lead leg he'll throw it side and high. Decent left jab to wide overhands in the pocket, basically. And he carries the most power in those moments. He does dip his head pretty bad to his right and shows decent takedown defense and the ability to defend and work back up pretty well. He's a strong clinch player, has active dirty boxing knees and elbows. And so, yeah, the fight's hard to call, really all in all, because I think mostly stylistically what you have is you have Terrance McKinney. He's going to come forward. He's going to throw heavies. He's probably going to, whatever, look to grapple even. I've noticed that he's been a lot more willing to grapple. But yeah, he's going to come forward and be really, really aggressive. Now, like I said, he's kill or be killed. So if he can't finish that fight in like the first 8 minutes, we'll give him 8 minutes. then kind of what happens is he starts to fade, and then the other opponent will take over the fight, and usually he'll spend himself so much that he'll get finished, right, himself. So he'll go from looking like he's winning the fight, oh, he's got him knocked out, to oh, he completely spent himself and he can't even fight back, and then he has to get, or he gets actually knocked out. So I like the under. Fight doesn't go, and I think that the difference in this fight is going to be A, what I already said, but B, I think it's going to be the athleticism. So I am going to go with Terrance McKinney. I think that while Nelson is pretty skilled, I think that this barrage of McKinney, it might just be like too much too quick, because even when you pull up on paper, you can see that the times this guy lost, he lost to, let's see, because I mentioned this, he's 6-3 to the KO. Steve Garcia hits pretty well, knocked him out in the first round. Billy Quarantillo knocked him out. Yeah. I don't know. I mean, I could be wrong, but yeah, like I said, the under, I'm going to go with McKinney in this. McKinney's a fun, exciting fighter. But I really, really want to give Nelson his flowers. I think the dude's extremely underrated. Way, way, way better than most people probably acknowledge or give him credit for. And so, Nelson, your dog, my guy, you are a monster, and you're an extremely talented fighter. And let's run, bro. Let's go. Should be a fun fight, man. He might dog it out, bro. Could be the difference. It literally, the dog could be the difference. So, I'll give him that, and that's why I say I think the under is probably the most likely. Now, Abdul-Malik going against Yousri Belgaroui. I don't know if I pronounced that right. Let's pull these guys up. 6'2 to 6'6. But look at that 80-inch reach to 79. So, wow, yeah, he makes up for it in the reach for sure. Pull him up. 7-0 to the KO, 2-0 to submission. So never been to the cards. Now the level of competition, obviously, maybe not the greatest, but round one guillotine to Tricoli. The draw to Brundridge. I think that was an odd fight. There were some weird circumstances in that, I remember. Knocked out Nick Klein. Knocked out Dusko Todorovic or whatever. Todorovic. Wes Schultz. Yeah, I don't know. I mean, he's a powerful dude. You know what I mean? Let's pull him up our notes and see what we have. All right. He's an aggressive fighter, phenomenal athlete, powerful and fast. Striking looks okay, but does carry his hands low. Chin hasn't really been tested. He uses brute force to get takedowns and has brutal ground and pound. You know what I mean? So that's who he is. He's not extremely refined at this point. But I think he looks better. Like, I think I'll probably pay attention to him because I think his skill set's probably better than I'm giving him credit for, honestly. But all in all, what you do want to take from it is that this is a really, really, really good athlete, extremely powerful, extremely fast, and sometimes that's just the difference, right? That's kind of why I took Terrance in the last fight. To me, that might be the difference. And I know that he's going to start fast. And that might just be hard for Nelson to kind of overcome right off the rip. But anyways, let's focus more on this one. Let's pull up. Let's go over here. We'll pull up Belgaroui. He is 7-0 to the knockout. Never been submitted, and he's 2-3 to decision. I punched out Musayev. That's fairly impressive. I was on Contender Series, knockout, decision, punches. Went to the decision with Marco Tulio. That's a pretty impressive feat right there. Honestly, that's a crazy feat. Never been knocked out. And he's fought some killers. I think he's even fought. Okay, got knocked out by Pereira. Kickboxing. Yeah, dude's extremely skilled. Let's see. Let's pull this guy up on our notes and see what we have on him. Yo. All right, here he is right here. Fairly light-footed striker, shows good bounce with solid footwork. He uses measured pressure. Undisciplined guard, drops his hands, fights behind backside kick. He'll throw it low and deep. Decent left jab. It has to be a jab and a nice right cross. Has really well-timed knees. Seems to sprawl well, but and shows urgency getting up. Still a lot of questions on his ground game, though. And I want to look at these guys a little bit more, just what they've done. Azamat's pretty big hitter himself. I'm not sure about this guy here on Contender Series. Let's pull him up. Yeah, I mean, I'm not too sure about that guy. But you see, man, he's still with some pretty impressive strikers. Let's go back to Malik. Antonio Tricoli. Cody Brundridge. Yeah, I think this is a fairly big step up in competition for our boy here. I really do. Oh, it's tough. This one's a tough ass fight. I don't lie, this is a tough fight. Really tough fight. Because I think that, when I look at these two guys, I know that on one side I have a guy that's going to try to get a finish, but on the other side I have a guy that also has the ability to finish the fight, but also has the ability to maybe fight long and just fight smart and just, if he can hit him with a couple shots early and kind of compromise him a little bit, make him guess himself a little bit, make him wonder about coming in for takedowns. He got these well-timed knees and stuff like that. So if he can hit him with some of this stuff, like I said, ultimately he could either A, just finish him, or B, can make him really question whether he wants to take the fight down or not. And if that happens, you got a guy that could win a fight, like literally just standing, right? Because the more technical striker is Yousri, no doubt about it, right? He's just the more technical striker, way more skilled on the feet. But Malik's got something that he doesn't, and that is the aggression and the just really, really raw talent. The heck? This out of here, bruh. So it's a super tough fight to call. You got 39. Let's see what the lines look like on this. Yeah, I like that line. It's a near pick'em fight. This is not a bad fight. I want to see these guys at weigh-ins. I'm gonna go with the favorite. I think that Yousri can win this fight, but the reality is I do think that Malik he's just gonna come forward and get takedowns. I think so. I think that the power sometimes like that athleticism, that power, not everyone can do what some of these people can. Like just come forward and grab you and just maul you and just throw you down or whatever. there's a lot of people that can't just do that. And so I think that the fact that he's going to be able to do that just like maybe a couple of times, he might be able to wear on him pretty quick. He's just very aggressive and kind of like vicious fighter. But I do think that Yousri can win this fight because he's very technical and really ultimately the more skilled guy. I just see Malik as the way more talented individual, or like way more like significant. Uh, yeah, we'll side with him. I think it's a really, really tough fight. I mean, he hasn't lost yet though. He's probably the rightful favorite. You know, he's also ranked higher even in just in these rankings. I think the aggression, athleticism, would be the difference in that fight. Let's go. Next fight up, we have Julian Erosa going against Lerryan Douglas. Lerryan Douglas. Okay, this is a fun fight because this guy came off Contender Series, right? And yeah, he's kind of a beast for real. All right, 36 years of age for Erosa, 30 for Douglas. 6'1" for Erosa. That's a pretty nice size advantage right there. You got 2.5 reach advantage as well. Well, let's pull him up over here. Erosa. All right, Julian Erosa. Flat-footed pressure striker. He's aggressive. Will stand in the pocket and trade. The guy's there to be hit. Digs to the body. Good knees in the clinch. Quick to the neck. But the guy can be clipped. Now, let's go. Douglas. All right. Fairly light-footed striker shows decent bounce with solid footwork. Measured pressure with decent range management. Striking looks quite clean. Really nice kicks. Low from both legs. Crisp boxing. Takedown defense looks solid, and he sprawls well. It all sounds pretty good for him. Let's look at what Erosa's done. He is 12-7 to the knockout, 14-0 to the submission, and 5-5 to the decision. Went to decision with Costa. Costa's pretty good. Got Darren Elkins in the first round. Christian Rodriguez in the first round. Ricardo Ramos in the first round. Got clipped by Padilla. Clipped by Alex. Yeah, I mean, he's an extremely volatile fighter. He's kind of a killer be killed type of guy as well, honestly. Guess he can fight long, but he's an extremely dangerous grappler, obviously. 14 submissions, no defeats that way. Let's go over to his opposition and see. Seven and 2 to the knockout, 2-2 to the submission. Knocked out in LFA. I was trying to see when the last time he was triangle choked in 2018 by Chip Bay. That's quite a long time ago, though. 8 years ago. And Chip Bay's a dog, too. What round was that? I was in the first round. Guillotine and I don't know. I think he's kind of a new fighter since then, though. This guy's not really that same guy. This guy's extremely skilled. I don't suspect that'll be an issue. I kind of want to go back to the notes and kind of go back over it. Shows decent bounce with solid footwork, measured pressure with decent range management. Striking looks quite clean. Really nice kicks. He'll throw low, crisp boxing. Okay, so he looks pretty technically good on the feet. He also does carry power, good footwork, good kicks, good hands. There's a lot to like from the striking. Takedown defense looks solid. Sprawls well. And then let's pull Erosa back up. All right, Erosa is a flat-footed pressure striker, aggressive, will stand in the pocket and trade, there to be hit. Takes the body, good knees in the clinch. Can be clipped. Yeah, it's just a volatile fight because of Erosa's style. So still, it's a killer be killed type of style too. A little bit Terrance, yeah, like McKinney a little bit. So I think because of him and his style, it's the fight goes under, fight doesn't go to the guard, and I'm going to ever so slightly fight the more athletic, more skilled, technical striker, and because I think he can also be dangerous, and I think he can compete in other areas. So, but I would never rule out an Erosa knockout or submission. Like that dude is also extremely skilled. Hold on. And so, yeah, I would definitely just look at the under more than anything. But as far as picking a side, I will favor Douglas's ability to maintain range and fight from the outside and potentially clip Erosa at some point. I think he's dangerous enough. Let's go back and see again. Been to the cards 4 times, but let's see more recently. Where's everything? Left hook, punch, 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 punch. And, last decision he went to was a loss, and that was, 5 years ago. Okay. I think that something's changed since then, and I like the knockout. Okay, but I'm going to say the under, but I'm going to favor Lerryan Douglas. Let's move on. Next fight. We have a retirement fight on the Chiesa side, and then he's going against the late notice replacement in Niko Price. Usually you don't like the retiring fighter, but Chiesa looked decent in his last fight, and he's going against Niko, which is a dog if nothing else, but maybe hasn't looked as good lately. So 6'1" to 6 foot, the inches or the reach is almost identical. So nothing really there to see. Let's pull up Michael. Do I not have Michael Chiesa? Come on, I had to have had him, right? Hold on. If I don't have it, there it is. I do have it. Light-footed striker. He's patient. He has a low guard. He'll right arm extended, left hand low. Tends to pump the right jab, looking to counter with the left cross, and will extend to a right hook. Has pretty good lateral movement. Doesn't react well to punches. He is a good grappler with takedown ability. Can be beat in transitions. Questionable cardio. Somewhat, I guess, whatever. Let's go to Tapology and look at him just a bit. 0-1 to the KO, 12-5 to the submission, and then 7-1 to the decision. Has won his last 3 fights by 2 rear naked and a decision. Lost to Darce by Kevin Holland. Went to decision with Sean Brady in 2021. Darce choked to Vicente Luque. Yeah, I mean, he's a good fighter. He just can't get caught. Like I said, caught in transition has been his biggest problem. Or he'll get buzzed and then bang down, But anyways, let's pull up Niko. Niko, bro. Niko Price. Fairly light-footed striker. He can be a bit flat-footed at times. Solid kicks at range. Front kick, a high kick, solid left jab. Boxing is loose overall, however. Below average speed. He has a lazy guard and can be buzzed. Solid knees in the clinch. Dangerous in a brawl. And he's active grappler. He is an active grappler. I don't think he's a guy that's going to catch. He could catch Chiesa with a punch, I suppose, for sure, in a brawling type of fight. But, only submitted twice. Let's see who he submitted to. Jacoby Smith, that's tough. Kobe beat him up pretty bad, I think, before that. But that was it. He came back like a dog. The dog he is. He was Darce by Vicente Luque as well. It's funny. I don't know. It's actually a tough fight because let me go back to this real quick. I feel like Niko, a lot of his losses are coming by knockout, right? Only lost 2 decisions. He's 3-2 to the decision. It's just kind of like the Alex Morono. It's like I feel like to some degree, if you don't have the power to knock him out, he could do more and win because he's a dog. He's got power to fight. I don't really like to fight at all. Like I said, it's a retirement fight. And Chiesa is such a big favorite because it's a late notice replacement. I think the form recently is definitely Chiesa's looked better. Yeah. I think you just got to favor, or you got to lean with the favorite on this one. I don't think you're being slick if you're trying to go with this late notice replacement, that hasn't really been that great in recent past. He's a dog, sure, and he could win. I would rather just choose to stay out of it as far as all that goes. Wait to see him at weigh-in, see how they look. You know, what does the energy feel like? I just like I don't even see Chiesa's not really that great of a striker, but like I can see him being still somewhat competitive striking. I just don't know. I just don't know. The line's way too wide to even really consider anything on this. But again, just for the sake of picking a side, we'll go with the favorite in Chiesa. I think that on the feet, you know, he shows the better footwork. And I certainly think that he's going to be the more skilled grappler as well. So I'll side with him just for those reasons, and I'm just going to move on. You know, and happy retirement to you, my big dog. Uh, Next up, we have the co-main event. It's Alexa Grasso going against Maycee Barber. All right. It's a near pick'em. Maycee's the favorite. She's 5 years the youngest, or 5 years the youngest. Um, Actually, I'm not even sure what the proper word for that is. Eldest is oldest. So either way, Grosso's the 5 year elder. How about that? Bang. We were going to pivot, baby. Anywho, pull up Alexa. Alexa Grasso, here she is. Up top, light-footed striker, seems to have more of a traditional boxing style. High guard, straight punches. She can get caught stepping in with punches and takedowns. She'll, you know, kind of step in and get caught. It's weird timing. Plus minus, she does have active submission game off her back, but she can lose minutes. Okay, but she's pretty sound. Defending and whatnot, pretty good there. So anyways, let's pull up her opponent. Maycee Barber. All right. Maycee Barber is a light-footed pressure striker. Has decent kicks at range, side kick and front kick. Her side kick is a bit slow. Boxing is quite green, doesn't throw many straight punches. She will crash the pocket with wild overhand punches to initiate the clinch. Strong in clinch, she has decent knees and elbows, has some takedown ability with trips and throws. She lacks top control, but has good ground, like solid ground and pound. It is pretty good. She is kind of like a vicious fighter. You know, I'll give her that for any deficiencies that she may have, as she is a pretty violent fighter. So, just look loud, buddy. Yeah, she's gonna come forward. I don't think there's any question about that. It's more, you know, does that put Alexa on the back foot more so? And let's go back to Alexa real quick. Pull her up. Life seems to have more of a traditional boxing style. Yeah, I'd have to watch a little more tape on her footwork. It seems our notes are a little outdated. But I need to, yeah, I'll have to watch. I'll have to watch her footwork and see, you know, how technical it actually is. Is she circling away from the power hand? Is she backing straight up before, or like is she backing straight up, or is she circling? Is she angling off to set up her punch? Stuff like that. You know, they're just things that I look for in what they're doing offensively with their footwork that also correlates with their striking defense. You know what I mean? You know, but that lets me know is she going to be? I just don't know how she's going to do if she's put on the back foot. That's kind of what I'm questioning. Let's go over here to Tapology and see what these girls look like against like some similar opposition, right? Who is a fighter that's going to put you on your back foot? Okay, Barber. They fought before. Barber did put her on her back foot before, and she won a decision. Yeah. I don't know. Alexa's the more skilled fighter here, for sure. Four knockouts, 10 decisions. So she knows how to win. She got outstruck and she can get out grappled. But she... Carla Esparza is maybe the only one. Well, Tatiana Suarez. Nah, I don't know. Let's pull up Maycee real quick. See what she's done. 6-0 to the knockout, 2-0 to the submission, 6-2 to the decision. I don't know. This is what I'm going to say. I think that Alexa Grasso, is she the favorite in this fight? No, plus 115. I like the dog. I like Alexa Grasso. I think the fact that, the way I see it is I never suspected she could win against Shevchenko. And to be entirely, like, say the second fight, like, I feel that she lost that fight, whatever. But she stood and grappled and did everything. She got the submission in the first fight. Barber, in my opinion, would not do well in a fight against her. And I know that styles do make matchups, but the reality is that Barber just relies too heavily on her pressure, aggression, style. That when you get against really good opponents that can strike and defend takedowns and different things like that, I just don't know. I think Alexa should be the favorite here. So I'm going to go with her. I think she probably wins this fight. It probably goes to the cards. Right? It can be a close, greasy fight. I don't love it, but the over, I guess. The over. Be smart. Look at the over. And just move on. Anyways, we'll take Grasso. And then we have the main event. We got Israel Adesanya going against Joe Bodybags Pyfer. Pull these fellas up. All right, Israel. Well, actually, hold on. Paper first. It's a close fight. Minus 140 for Adesanya. 7-year age gap here. The height is in favor of Adesanya, as well as a 5-inch reach gap. That's pretty nice for Adesanya. Because he's going to be the more technical striker for sure. Israel, let's pull him up. All right, Israel Adesanya is not here, bruh. Maybe I didn't spell that right. Oh, it's A-E, my bad. Freaking idiot, bruh. All right, here we are. Fluid switch stance striker, shows decent bounce with solid footwork. High-level Muay Thai kickboxer, shows heavy, snappy low side and high kicks from both his lead and back foot. Crisp 1-2 and counters well. tends to carry his hands a tad low, and can be clipped. Has solid takedown defense, sprawls hard, and gets unders. And then on the other side, you have Pyfer. Let's pull him up. All right. Pyfer's a light-footed pressure striker. Tends to throw with power. He plants his feet. Powerful outside low kick and side kick. And solid left jab at range. Boxing seems solid. He has powerful hooks, overhand right. Uneducated guard. Boxing is a bit loose. So it's not that solid, I guess. It's like it's okay. But all in all, not super technical. But he has some good things. You know, he has power and he does have some long-range weapons. He's just not the most refined striker. And I know he fights like it, but he's not. Strong wrestler and grappler, like physically strong. He has good arm triangle. And the guy fades around the 9-minute mark. He just does. I know he don't think he does. He said he's ready to go 5 rounds. You know, I hope he is. I hope he is. I really do. I think it's a fun fight. It's a good fight. I mean, what else are you gonna do, right? Let's go over here to Tapology and get a better idea of what these guys have been doing. As of late, you know, he's 16-2 to the knockout. He's 0-1 to the submission, 8-2 to the decision. You know, the guy's pretty hard to beat. Was clipped by Nazardini. Choked out by Drikas. I'm pretty sure he was knocked down, and then Drikas hopped on his back and got it real quick. And I'm pretty sure he was also losing that fight, if I remember correctly. But maybe I'm wrong. I think that he was doing pretty good damage. Adesanya, I feel like he was doing pretty good damage to Drikas in that fight, but then clipped him and hurt him, whatever, and then submitted him. Alex Pereira knocked him out, got knocked out. So he lost to some really, really good fighters. Now, yeah. All right. Well, I feel pretty certain that this fight is Adesanya to lose. But hold on. Let's not get ahead of ourselves yet. Let's go to okay. Anyways, let's go to Joe over here on Tapology and see what we have here. 9-1 to the knockout, 4-1 to the submission, 2-1 to the decision. Rear naked to Abus Magomedov. Yeah. I mean, Jack Hermanson, I believe he leg kicked him to death, didn't he? Just leg kicked him to death for 5 rounds, basically. All right. Well, so this is what I think. I mean, all in all, I do think that Joe has like the talent and the ability, all in all, to win the fight. But skill wise, it's a really, really tough road for him because and part of that is because he does kind of choose to, well, and just stylistic matchup. So this is what I think. All in all, wholeheartedly, this is really what I think about this fight. We know what Izzy's going to do. He's going to be the way more technical, faster striker at range, and he's going to have good footwork and everything. Like it's going to look better for Izzy on the feet. And I don't think he's going to be as willing to just like get into some kind of like actual brawl with Pyfer, where Pyfer has the power to knock out anyone, and that's a real possibility. He could clip him. He's got a fighter's or a puncher's chance in this fight. But the issue is he really needs to try to set up his power punches. And from the time that I've seen him, he don't really try to set him up. He just throws them. And that's not going to work on a guy like Adesanya. Now, like, again, he could catch him. It's a possibility, but not like a high probability, right? So I don't think that's what's going to happen. And then there's the world where Pyfer could choose to actually grapple and win this fight on the mat. Now, and he definitely could, because I think he is going to be the more physically imposing fighter here. Like, he's strong. Like, I think he's a stronger guy. But yeah, I'll have to wait to see him at weigh-ins before I can really make that judgment. You know what I mean? And even then, you can't really make it. But we'll try to make that determination then. But I'm going into it with the idea that Pyfer is probably the more physically strong individual here. Adesanya is definitely the more technical striker here. And then the two things that are working against Pyfer in this fight are the fact that you don't know that he's even going to try to grapple, right? That's been an issue in the past, is that he's just too willing. Like, he believes too much in his hands. I know he's got power, but he thinks that he can just hit anyone and knock him out. And while, yeah, he has the power to do that, it's like, buddy, you got to set it up, all right, man? Now, the other thing that he's going to be working against is, like I said, stylistically, the thing is Izzy has better footwork. He's going to be anticipating this, and he already has pretty good takedown offense. So, I think this is Izzy fight to lose, man. This is Izzy all day long. He's a minus 140 favorite. I think there's value there. There's definitely value there. So we're going to take Izzy minus 140. He's going to get the dub. But fight probably... It's tough to say the fight doesn't go, because I know Adesanya in the past has been like, yo, boys, let's just dance around and dance around and dance around. But, yeah, I don't know. Fight probably doesn't go. Fight doesn't go probably because I don't think Pyfer is going to be able to go for 5 rounds. And I think there's a world where Pyfer, like I said, I don't think it's like super likely that he catches him, but it's possible. It's super possible. And then I just think, like, a little bit more recency bias tells me that, I feel like in these 3 fights, like Sean Strickland, I feel like he clipped him, right? He clipped him and knocked him down at one point in the fight. And he's not even a big power puncher. Dricus du Plessis, I'm pretty sure that he clipped him and knocked him down right before he got the rear naked choke. I might be wrong about that. But then Nasruddin clipped him too. Now, Imavov's striking is way higher level than Pyfer's, in my opinion. Strickland's striking is higher level. Dricus is higher level. It's a little unorthodox, but unconventional, but it works for him. He makes it work. And then he fought Alex Pereira. His striking's way better. Yeah, so he's losing these. The thing that I'm concerned is, is he more prone to getting clipped now? But I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt. I'm still going to go with him, but it's a real possibility, I guess. And anyways, good luck to everyone. We'll catch you next time. And I'll probably try to do like a little, like a rapid review. And I'll go through some lines and stuff and have some stuff like that to post at a later point maybe. All right, guys. Till next week or whenever. Check you later. Bye.